Bitcoin traders eye $28,000 Solana, Cardano and Teller lead altcoin bump. Bitcoin BTC prices held steady above the $27,000 level Friday even as broader financial markets showed mixed movements. Global oil prices retreated after a surge, while stocks in Asia and Europe inched higher as of Asian afternoon hours. Crypto markets were buoyed mainly as participants expected increased demand in the short term as a formal Ether (ETH) futures exchange traded fund (ETF) was floated by financial giant Van Eck. However, some analysts warned of selling pressure on riskier assets such as Bitcoin, citing all-time highs in certain oil markets. Some analysts priced in a 90% chance of the ETF getting approved in the first week of October, impacting bearish positions. Strength in crypto markets seemed to bump majors, such as Solana Sol and Cardano's ADA tokens, each adding as much as 4.5%. Traders at Japanese exchange Bitbank said in a daily note that they expect Bitcoin prices to move towards the $28,000 level, citing ETF optimism. Despite the fact that the SEC postponed their decision to approve or disapprove ARK, BlackRock, and Valkyrie's Bitcoin ETFs this week, the market's hope for spot Bitcoin ETF approval seems to have been revitalized following the Ether futures ETF decision, analyst Yuya Hasegawa shared. Meanwhile, Teller's TRB tokens continued a multi-week rally to rise some 10% in the past 24 hours, extending monthly gains to over 250%. Data from CoinGecko shows high funding rates on TRB futures could explain some of the demand for these tokens, analysts at Coinalyze said in a message, amid the lack of fundamental catalysts. Funding rates are periodic payments that traders on perpetual futures markets pay from one side of the trade to the other. Depending on their open positions, traders will either pay or receive funding. The payments ensure there are always participants on both sides of the trade. Participants utilize sophisticated strategies to collect funding rates while hedging losses due to token movements, which may eventually create market imbalance and volatility. Bitcoin slips below $27,000. But what might government shutdown mean for prices? While Bitcoin BTC remains on track to end its 6-year streak of September losses, a modest pullback ahead of what could be an imminent federal government shutdown could put this month's advance in jeopardy. The largest crypto by market capitalization changed hands at $26,800 during Friday afternoon hours, posting a 3.2% return this month so far. However, BTC has declined 1.6% from the $27,400 it touched for a short time on Thursday. Extending this week price action into the weekend could put BTC's provisional positive monthly return in jeopardy as the crypto began September at just about $26,000. Ether ETH traded mostly flat at around $1,660, as market participants anticipate futures-based exchange-traded funds, ETF, to go live early next week. Ripple's XRP, Solana Sol and the Tron Network's native token Tron posted 3% to 5% gains, outperforming the broader digital asset market. The CoinDesk Market Index, CMI, was down 0.5%. What does the government shutdown mean for crypto? The oppressive macro uncertainty is still a major headwind. Noel Acheson, macro analyst and author of Crypto is Macro Now newsletter, noted Friday. Bond markets around the world are flashing signs of distress, as yields have reached multi-year records in the US, UK, Germany and Japan to name just a few markets. She added that the looming U.S. government shutdown adds to the uncertainty and noted that the U.S. consumer spending growth in Q2 was revised lower, an indication that consumers might not be that resilient to tightening financial conditions. As scary as this may sound, during the 21 government shutdowns in the past, the S&P 500 rose 55% of the time, generating an average return of 0.3%, advisory firm Asgard Markets wrote in a Friday market report. Digital asset investment firm Nidig said that the government shutdown could delay regulatory decisions as the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, staff will be radically reduced. A spot Bitcoin ETF will have to wait until after SEC employees come back from a potential furlough. Greg Cipollaro, Nidig's head of research, wrote in the report. What's next for Bitcoin's BTC price? Still, crypto markets held up well recently compared to the sell-off in stocks. Despite the difficult macro picture, Asgard has a more constructive outlook for risk assets in Q4. BTC and ETH are now trying to break upwards outside of their range established in the last month and a half, Asgard said. We are looking for a short-term move somewhere between $28,500 and a swipe of $30,000, for as long as BTC does not retrace below $26,000. Historically, October has usually been a bullish month for Bitcoin. Marcus Thielen, Matrixport's head of research, said in a recent appearance on CoinDesk TV. He pointed out that over the last 10 years, 8 of those times in October, the market was actually up with an average of 22%, adding that as soon as interest rates become dovish, Bitcoin is going to break out quite aggressively. Thielen also argued that Bitcoin miners, particularly Marathon Digital, are entering this next quarter with far more efficient operations. At the same time, the halving is still on everyone's minds. Marathon Digital, according to Thielen, estimated their mining costs would increase from $24,000 to $29,000 per Bitcoin. Nevertheless, we need to really rally above 30,000, he concluded.